The Empire had ruled the Andromeda sector for 12,000 years. Their ships moved through space like silver ghosts. Their weapons could crack planets in half. Their soldiers numbered in the trillions. No species had ever challenged them and lived to tell the story. Admiral A stood on the bridge of his command vessel, watching the blue planet grow larger on the viewing screen. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he studied the primitive world below. The inhabitants called it Earth. They called themselves humans. "Status report," he said, his voice clicking in the harsh tones of his language. "The planet is defended by approximately 300 small vessels," his tactical officer replied. "Their weapons are nuclear-based, primitive. Our shields will hold without any effort." I made a sound that was almost like laughter. The Galactic Council had warned him about humanity. They had called them dangerous. They had said to leave the small blue world alone. But I had conquered 47 species in his long career. He had burned worlds and ended civilizations. What could these soft creatures possibly do against the might of the Empire? "Begin the invasion," he ordered. The first wave of dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like burning stars. They landed in the major cities: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. The soldiers poured out with their plasma rifles and energy blades. They expected the humans to run. They expected them to surrender. They did not expect what happened next. In New York, a squad kicked down the door of an apartment building. Inside, they found an old woman sitting in a chair. She was knitting something with long needles. She looked up at the 7-foot-tall aliens with their gray skin and 4 eyes. She did not scream. She did not beg for mercy. She pulled a shotgun from under her blanket and killed 2 of them before they could react. The remaining soldiers cut her down with their weapons, but as she died, she was smiling. This scene repeated itself across the world. In Tokyo, office workers attacked the invaders with scissors and staplers. In Lagos, children threw rocks at armored soldiers. A man drove his car into a group at full speed, dying in the explosion but taking 6 of them with him. The first day of the invasion cost the Empire 11,000 soldiers. This was more than they had lost in the last 3 wars combined. Admiral A received the reports with growing confusion. His tactical officer stood before him, shaking slightly. "They do not surrender," the officer said. "We have captured several of their cities. We have superior numbers and weapons, but they keep fighting, even the ones we have defeated. They bite, they scratch, they throw themselves at our soldiers with no regard for their own lives." "They are animals," I said. "They will learn to fear us." But the humans did not learn to fear. Instead, they learned to fight better. By the end of the first week, the resistance had organized itself. Human soldiers who had been scattered regrouped. They shared information through underground networks. They learned where they were weak. They discovered that the aliens could not see well in darkness. They found out that their armor had gaps at the joints. The night attacks began. Patrols started disappearing. A squad of 10 would enter a dark building and never come out. Search teams would find only bodies and strange human symbols painted on the walls. The humans called them warning signs: skulls, crossbones, messages in blood that said things like, "We are coming, and this is our home." Admiral A had never felt fear before. He had conquered species that could breathe fire. He had defeated enemies that could regenerate lost limbs. But something about the humans made his stomach turn in ways he could not explain. It was the look in their eyes. Even when they were dying, even when they were clearly defeated, they looked at them with hatred. Pure, burning hatred. They did not accept defeat. They did not understand the concept of surrender. 1 month into the invasion, I received a transmission from a human leader. The man was old, with gray hair and tired eyes, but his voice was strong. "You think you know what war is," the human said. "You have fought other species. You have won easily because they valued their own lives. They surrendered when the cost became too high. They accepted defeat because death frightened them. The human leaned forward, and something in his eyes made A's blood run cold. We are different. We have spent our entire existence fighting each other. We have invented 1,000 ways to kill. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters that should have wiped us out. We do not fear death. We welcome it, because for us, dying while fighting is better than living on our knees. The transmission ended. That night the humans launched their first major counterattack. They had studied the ships. They had learned that the landing vessels needed to refuel every 48 hours. They had memorized the patrol routes. They had counted every soldier. And they had been building things in secret. The explosion started at midnight. Human fighters, using planes held together with tape and prayers, crashed into supply ships. Suicide bombers ran into alien command posts. Rockets built in basement workshops screamed through the sky and found their targets. By morning, they had lost 30% of their ground forces. Admiral A stared at the casualty reports. His hands were shaking. In 12,000 years of history, no invasion had ever gone this badly. He had 5 million soldiers on the ground, against a species with inferior technology, and he was losing. "Call for reinforcements," he ordered. "We need more troops." "Admiral," his communications officer said, his voice strange. "The Galactic Council is on the channel. They want to speak with you." The holographic image of the council appeared on the bridge. 12 figures representing the 12 most powerful civilizations in the known galaxy. They looked at it with expressions that ranged from pity to barely hidden amusement. "We warned you," said the representative from the OS Collective. "We told you to leave the humans alone." "They are primitives," A protested. "They should have fallen in days." "Primitives?" The OS representative laughed. "They sent nuclear weapons to their own moon before they had conquered hunger on their own planet. They split the atom before they learned to live in peace. They are not primitive. They are insane. Beautifully, terrifyingly insane." Another council member spoke. This was an ancient being, millions of years old, who had seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on a beach. "Humanity is young," the being said. "They have existed for barely a moment in cosmic terms, but in that moment they have done something no other species has managed. They have turned survival into an art form. They thrive on conflict. They grow stronger when threatened. They are like a virus that becomes more deadly when you try to kill it." The council members looked at each other. Then the oldest one spoke again. "You have not started a war with humanity, Admiral. You have awakened something, and now you must face the consequences." The transmission ended. Over the following months, the invasion collapsed completely. The humans did not just fight back. They hunted. They tracked patrols through destroyed cities. They left traps in abandoned buildings. They used the aliens' own weapons against them. And they began to smile while doing it. This was the thing that broke the spirit, not the defeats, not the losses. It was the smiles. The humans had started enjoying the war. They had turned killing into a game. They gave points for each alien soldier eliminated. They gave nicknames to particularly successful fighters. They made songs about their victories. Admiral A, once the most feared commander in the Empire, now refused to leave his ship. He had nightmares about human eyes, about their strange, flat teeth, about the sounds they made when they died, which sounded almost like laughter. By the end of the year, they retreated from Earth. They left behind equipment, vehicles, and thousands of prisoners. The humans did not torture these prisoners. They did not execute them publicly. Instead, they fed them. They gave them medical care. They taught them about human culture. Then they sent them home with a message. "Tell your empire what happened here. Tell them about the species that would not surrender. Tell them about the world that swallowed your armies whole. And tell them this: if they ever return, if they ever threaten humanity again, we will not stop at defending our world." The former prisoners looked at the human general who delivered this message. He was covered in scars from the fighting. One of his eyes was missing, but he stood straight, and his remaining eye burned with something they had never seen in any other species. "We will find you, we will cross the stars. We will burn everything you have built over 12,000 years, and we will do it with a smile on our faces, because that is what we are. That is what you awakened. We are humanity, and we are far worse than death." The prisoners returned to their empire. They told their story. They showed the scars. They repeated the message word for word. The emperor listened to everything. Then he did something he had never done in his 2,000-year reign. He declared a full retreat from an entire sector of the galaxy. He ordered that all records of humanity be sealed. He commanded that no ship ever approach the Sol system again. And in private, alone in his chamber, the most powerful being in 12-star systems felt something cold in his chest. It was fear, pure, primitive fear. Because he had seen the recordings from Earth. He had watched humans fighting with broken bones. He had observed mothers defending children with nothing but kitchen knives. He had studied soldiers who laughed as they died, knowing their deaths had meaning. They had conquered species that could destroy planets. They had defeated enemies with godlike powers, but they had never, in all their history, encountered anything like humanity. Because other species feared death. They could be threatened. They could be controlled. But the humans had looked death in the face so many times that they had made it their friend. They did not run from the end. They ran toward it, dragging their enemies with them. The message spread across the galaxy. The story of Earth became a legend, a warning, a cautionary tale told to young species just discovering space travel. "There is a small blue world in a quiet corner of the galaxy," the story began. "The creatures there are small and soft. Their teeth are flat. Their claws are gone. They seem harmless, but never ever threaten them, never hurt their children, never destroy their homes. Because if you do, you will learn the truth that they discovered too late. Death is not the worst thing in the universe. Humanity is." And somewhere on Earth, in a rebuilt city, a child asked her grandfather about the war. The old man looked at the stars and smiled. "They thought we were weak," he said. "They thought we would break, but they forgot something important. We broke ourselves 1,000 times throughout history, and every single time we put ourselves back together and came out stronger. That is what makes us human, not our technology, not our weapons, our refusal to stop fighting." The child looked up at the same stars. She did not know that alien civilizations were warning their children about her species. She did not know that her small blue world had become the most feared place in the galaxy. She just knew that she was human, and somehow, in a universe full of monsters, that was enough.